In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 most powerful truths that I've learned about money that has allowed me to become more abundant than ever before. Now, when it comes to money in general, if we believe certain things to be true about it, what happens is that is what blocks more abundance, more money, more opportunities from coming into our lives. So this video is going to help you remove that block so that you can be more in alignment with a more abundant version of you. And I'm going to show you how you can allow money in easier than ever by thinking about it in a different way, by relating to it in a different way, and by embodying a new version of you that is more abundant than ever. So I can very clearly now see what I used to believe back in the day when I was working that 9-to-5 job, when I was feeling very stuck, very blocked. I knew that there was like something I wanted to be doing for a living, but I had no idea how to go after it. I can see what I believed about money then, and I can see how that has changed since I've gone and done my life purpose and brought in a whole new level of abundance, more than I could honestly even imagine from back in 2017, especially as quick as it happened. And when that happened, when that change happened, within the last couple of years especially, I can see very clearly now that the meaning is gone. the meaning, the old meaning is gone. And when you also look at people who are very successful, who have a lot of money, one thing you want to realize, and one of the most powerful things that I've learned about this just in general, is everything in our reality is 100% fundamentally neutral other than the meaning we give it. So something is neutral, meaning we give it. Something happens, you lose your job, whether it's good or bad to you depends on the meaning you give it. If it's a rainy day, depends on the meaning you give it. And that meaning then ends up almost being, it ends up being your experience of it as well. And what happens is when we grow up, we adopt meanings to things that our parents give us, maybe without even knowing it, and we adopt that, and then that becomes our meaning for that thing. Or maybe we witness our parents relating to something in a certain way, and then we start to relate to it in the same way. And the biggest truth about money, just in general, something that you do want to change if you want to bring in more money, is your meaning of what money is and understanding what meaning you may have adopted from your family and your environment growing up. So for this, and I'll share with you my journey through this process of money as well, because there are aspects, I think, of my childhood that benefited from understanding money, and there are parts of it also that didn't benefit. But also, once I became spiritual in 2012, this is what happened. In 2012, I go through my awakening. Prior to that, I was working at Nordstrom's and Women's Shoes, sales commission job, worked there for probably about 5 years before I quit. This is in 2012. I'm like 23, 24 years old or something like that, or maybe 22. I don't know how old I was. But I'm working that job. I go through a spiritual awakening. I started meditating, and I started feeling completely different about myself. And actually, if I'm being completely honest, there was also a very ungrounded aspect of myself. I've shared it in some videos before, but I started going on this path of believing that we were going to ascend into a higher level of consciousness. So in 2012, you remember 2021, like December 21st, 2012, how that was like a big deal to some people, and there was like all this Mayan prophecy about it and stuff. Well, for me, what happened is I started to go online, and there were so many websites, and there were so many millions of people that believed the same thing, that there's a consciousness shift happening on the planet. And I was one of I don't even know, millions of people that believed this. And I still to this day believe that there's a consciousness shift happening on the planet in general. But I became very ungrounded because I started to believe in a lot of esoteric spiritual ideas that were very ungrounded. And part of that meant I was meditating, which was good because that helped me get off Adderall, which is the prescription drug they give for people with ADHD. I started feeling more present than ever. My energy started to balance out. I started to become aware of many aspects of my life and even my past, and I started to reframe things and realize this as well. Everything in life has no fundamental meaning other than the meaning we give it, the meaning that we agree to. And the other aspect of that, though, is realizing you can reframe any meaning that you've been given to your life. You can reframe it, and by reframing it, you then get a new experience of it. So I started doing that when I went through my awakening in 2012, but then also I started meditating, started going online and seeing all these other people that also believed we were going to shift into a higher level of consciousness. And I decided in that moment, not in that moment, the moment was actually when I started reading information on theories that talked about, not theories, because there is truth, I believe there is actually truth in this, but I couldn't let it, conspiracy theories that talk about how money is a form of control and how money is not backed by gold, which is also true. There were these perspectives on money that I was reading about that really resonated with me, and I started to develop this belief that money is bad. Money is not good. Money is control. So here I am going to my 9-to-5 job, selling women's shoes. And at the time I was also vegan. So I became like super, I was like, I'm selling women's shoes. I don't even believe in like selling leather of these animals. And plus money is like a control system on the planet. And I had all these like negative perceptions of money. Well, what do you think happened? I wasn't attracting any money in. If anything, I became even more ungrounded. And I decided that it did not matter. I did not even need to have a job. I was living at my mom's at the time. I was like, why do I even have a job? We're going to ascend on December 21st, 2012. Like, why do I even have this job? So in like September of 2012, I quit. Cold turkey, like went into work and said, I'm out. I didn't even put in my 2 weeks because there was also a manager that I was having button heads with. And it was like this thing where I just decided, screw it, I'm not coming in tomorrow. I burned my bridge. I could not go back to Nordstrom's for sure. Because I just quit on a whim. And then what happened is I went through a period where I just believed that money is evil. And even after December 21st, 2012 came around, and I was like, it was also a big deal for me because I told friends, I told family about this. And I looked crazy to most of my friends and family. I also, at that time I went vegan, I lost a crap load of weight. And when I did, people thought I was on drugs and stuff, and I wasn't on anything. I was just meditating. It's funny, I listen to music and songs from this time of my life. Like I used to listen to a lot of Enigma and Enya, spiritual music, and I get like brought back to that sometimes. And there's a part of me that's very nostalgic and misses it, but at the same time, I remember how ungrounded I was. And after that, I then spent like 5 or 6 months in denial trying to decide what I did because I didn't want to get a 9-to-5 job, but knew that I probably should. And at the same time, I just had this very strong belief that money is bad and that you can't be spiritual and meditate and all this stuff and make money and have money at the same time. And because of that belief, it completely blocked money from coming into my life, even from having a job. I wouldn't even like consider going to a job or like applying for another job until months later when I actually had not a psychic reading, but somebody that did this like kinesiology muscle testing stuff. And it was this like 90-year-old woman that did it, but she was so accurate. She found out I had a heart wall from like when I was 23, or no, from earlier than that, whenever it was that I had a breakup. She was very accurate. And then I asked her a question like, am I supposed to, as spirit, my guides want me to get a job? And it was very clear, yes. And I was like, wait, I had to completely reconfigure my whole mindset about this for me to understand, how to go about it and how to digest it. And then eventually what I did is, long story short, we got kicked out of that house that we were in, my mom and I and my brother and sister. And then we go into this called Emerald Suites. There were these very ghetto like daily or weekly places to live where there were a lot of like, it wasn't the safest place to live for sure. And I was sleeping on the floor and my mom and my sister were sleeping in the bedroom. And I literally lived on like Trader Joe's vegan chicken. And like, I was super scared. Like we didn't have money. I was like so resistant to getting a job. And then luckily I realized, you know what, I should probably get a job. And in 2013, I then moved back in with my dad and went through the next like 5 years of like reintegrating back into society and being normal and stuff. And I got a job at Barney's New York within like a day of applying for it. And after that, I became more grounded. And then in 2017 is when I went for making YouTube videos. And a lot, obviously, that happened in between then. I become much more normal and stuff. But I could very clearly see that the meaning I was giving to money was blocking money from coming into my life. And I see this a lot in people. People that are spiritual have trouble with wanting to make more money and feeling guilty about it. Because if they do make money, then it means they're less spiritual. It's like on one hand, we want to be spiritual and we want to be in alignment. On the other hand, we don't want to be, we want to have abundance in material things and like we want to enjoy the 3D physical experience and stuff. But we feel conflicted when these two things are there. Now, let's look at it like this though. You can have both a very spiritual life where you are living in alignment with your purpose, and you can have the abundance in your life to have nice things, to enjoy the 3D physical experience at the same time. And when I started to realize that and I started to learn that, that's when a lot of things in my life began to change. I began to change my meaning, the meaning that I was giving to money and abundance. And as I began to change that, that's when a lot of my life began to change. And even when I'm talking about it earlier too, the thing I want you to become aware of is that what was the energy dynamic around money when you were a kid? Because most likely that was something that you began to adopt. So for example, my buddy Victor, my best friend and business partner, growing up, his family, there was an energy in his family of worry, where his mom was worried about him, his parents, like there was a worry and fear was like the common thing in his family. And there was also this like feeling of guilt around certain things. So like he was always kind of like keeping himself in a certain box. And that worry is something that I can see even in his life now. Even now that he's abundant, it's something that he continues to do a good job of like releasing and letting go and realizing what is my stuff versus like what is my parents' stuff. Because that theme of him growing up is now the theme around money for him. And he's had to learn to let go of it. There's like a part of him that was like, I remember even back in the day, he was like afraid of putting out YouTube videos because he's afraid that if he gets too well known on YouTube, that like everything's going to crash down or he's going to like abandon his family and turn into a rock star. That's literally kind of like the mentality that he had. He was like worried of that. So he would like play small and keep himself in his box. And it was up until he just recently now too, he's like, I'm going to start getting back into things because he realizes he doesn't have to continue to adopt that fear from growing up. And, but you'll notice that when all of this stuff comes up for you, you will notice that there are similar energy dynamics and patterns that happened when you were a kid that you may have adopted. For me, I can see that there are certain benefits. I've always seen, my dad has always done something he was passionate about. So my dad, working as a firefighter, he is a fire investigator. He loves what he does. Even now he's retired, he's still working as a fire inspector or something like that. He's still doing stuff he loves. But from like 20, here's something interesting. When my dad was 28, 29 years old, he went from working at Circus in Las Vegas. He was like he's getting paid like at the front desk. He was making good money back then in the 80s. And then in the 90s, when he was 29 years old or 28 years old, right around his Saturn return, he then finally got approved to be on the fire department. It took him like 8 times of testing because my dad actually tested really well, but like they pick randomly. 8 times to get on. He gets on when he's 28 years old. And here's what was interesting. When I was 28 years old, guess when I went full-time on YouTube? I kind of gave it away. When I was 28 years old. There's certain patterns I think we kind of fall into, but I had my dad as a model, like showing that he went after something he was passionate about and he made it happen, like no matter what. And I think that was maybe a powerful reference experience for me to see and me to know, because I also do what I love for a living and I went full-time at the same time. And prior to that, I had a job that paid well. I think my dad got paid like $15 an hour, which back in the 80s is probably like getting paid $30 to $40 an hour today. Or even $30 to $40 an hour like 5 years ago, because now like minimum wage is $20 an hour, which when I was, I feel so old now, but when I was a kid, When I was 18 years old, my minimum wage was like $5 or $7 an hour. I think it was like $7 an hour in Vegas when I was 18, working at Hollister, folding clothes and everything. So also something that we're going to be doing starting on January 1st of 2022 is we're going to be doing a 21-day magnetic abundance challenge. It's a 21-day live event via Zoom. We're going to be going through and looking at our beliefs about money, our beliefs about abundance, our childhood dynamics when we were growing up and what we also like adopted from our parents. And we're going to be healing that, letting it go, and moving into a more abundant version of us in 21 days. We're going to completely wire in new versions of us. I'm going to bring on the best coaches. I'm going to be on the best people that are around money, that are experts at that. I'm going to be bringing on, we're going to be doing breath work. It's 21-day live event experience that is going to take on a whole new life of its own. I've had 10,000 people go through my magnetic love and raise vibration challenge. And if you've been through them, you know, comment below if you've ever been through them, and let me know your experience, because you'll be able to read comments of like what it was like for people, so that maybe it inspires you too. But click below or go to aarondowdy.com/money to join this, this time's 21-day challenge. I can't wait for it. It's 21-day live experience. It's so powerful. And by the end of it, we're going to be new versions of us. It's not just watching videos. It's actual accountability, high vibe mastermind group you're going to be a part of. And you can watch it at any time. You'll have lifetime access to it if you guys join today by going to aarondowdy.com/money, MONEY. So anyways, that's another way that you can directly, completely transform the meanings that you have about money and heal, is by going through that challenge, which I've been planning for months now and I'm super excited for. Now, the second truth, so the first truth about money is that if you believe money is evil, you're not going to attract it. If you believe money isn't spiritual, you're not going to attract it. Realize this about money. Money just is. Everything in our reality is spiritual. Sometimes we're like, that person's spiritual, that person's not. I remember hearing Bashar talk about this a while ago. He's kind of like an Abraham Hicks person that I listen to, and he says everything is spiritual. Some of the most spiritual people that you have on your planet, is what he says, they don't even know what to be spiritual means. Like, to be spiritual could be someone that's like a fisherman, could be extreme. Like, to be spiritual is to be in alignment. Everything in our reality technically is spiritual. It's an extension of us. So when you are in alignment with your purpose and you're doing what you're meant to be doing in life, guess what? You are living in that spiritual like mentality. And as I started to reframe my own meaning about money, it started to come in a completely new way. And my life now is like, I travel the world doing what I love. I run live events and live retreats. I have a house in Sedona, a house in Austin. I spend like a month out of the year in Costa Rica. I could travel way more if I wanted to. I have Taurus I have a Taurus ascending, which I think is my grounded aspect of myself. That's very practical, and I like sometimes being grounded as well. But I like nice things. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I like luxury houses. In my free time sometimes, when I'm out like making my breakfast or something like that, I'll put house tours on my TV on YouTube, and I will watch like $1 million house tours because I love houses and luxury houses so much. So that's just, I've realized and embraced this. And why? We are eternal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. And we came here to enjoy the earthly experience. We came here to enjoy the food, enjoy being in our bodies. And that was a big game changer for me when I started realizing this, because it's like, why not enjoy it? Why not know it can be spiritual? Now, I know I don't get lost in it. I'm not like, if I just have this bigger house, then I'm finally going to be worthy. It's more so the realization, though, that as you look at money and as you think about it, realize that if you are judging money and thinking it's bad, it's not going to want to come to you. When you think about money, also, if you over-identify with money and think it's the best thing ever and you put it on a pedestal, it's not going to come to you. The key is knowing that money is this neutral thing. And when you understand the energy dynamics of money and why it would come to you, that's what changes everything. And that's what we're going to talk about right now in the second one. Now, realize this truth about money. Money follows value. Now, you have value in the world just by being you. But being you means you're being the authentic you. And the authentic you means that you are living your purpose. You are an empowered version of you that is bold, that is doing what you came here to do. And what that means is that you are stepping into the unknown many times, but as you do that and as you are in that vibe, then the money comes to you. When I was in 2017 working that 9-to-5 job and I started making videos, there was a 2 or 3 month lag time where things were getting kicked up and I was starting to, a lot of blocks were coming up for me too. I felt like I wasn't credible. I wasn't worthy. Why would people watch me on YouTube? But I committed to daily videos. I just had this feeling that if I made daily videos every single day, my life would change. And it did. And the thing about this though is what switched for me is when I started focusing on adding value more than anything else. So I'd make videos that I thought people would like get something out of. I started looking at like, what are people's biggest problems? What are people's biggest blocks? And can I make a video that shows them how to like remove those blocks? And that's when things changed. Even when I had that 9-to-5 job at Nordstrom's and at Barney's New York. If I went into work and my intention was to make money, it's a very selfish intention. My intention is to get. My intention is to get. And that's a lot of times what happens when it comes to money is everyone's focused on the getting. It's me. It's like this narcissistic me, give me, give me, give me, give me. But when I started focusing on what I could give, that's when the money started coming to me. So when I went to that 9-to-5 job and I was focused on giving great service, connecting with people at emotional level, having fun, increasing people's state, it was incredible how much abundance would come to me. I would sell more those days than any other day. So what would happen is that energy changed everything for me, the adding value. So I thought to myself, okay, if I'm making these YouTube videos, instead of just making videos I think will get a lot of views, what if I made videos that would add a lot of value? So I started adding value and I started focusing on that. And that's when then the videos started to do very well, because every single day people would watch my videos. And I knew also, this was like a hack that I knew, as I started looking at my own life and I realized certain patterns. One of the patterns is every day working at Barney's New York, I would go on my lunch break to this cafe and I would sit there with my iPad and I would watch YouTube videos and I would eat my food. I'd go to the Grand Lux Cafe, get this bread, I'd have like this Chipotle, I'd like eat my food. And I would sit there and I would watch certain people on YouTube. And I noticed that if there was somebody that was daily, like Casey Neistat, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, not some of them, like if they were making these vlogs and they were engaging, Roman Atwood, I would watch his, I would get hooked onto them because they were making daily videos and every single day it was a part of my routine. So I thought to myself, how can I add value every single day? And I knew that if I went daily on YouTube, I just had this feeling that if I did that, I would become a part of people's daily routine. So that's what I committed to. And that's when things really began to change for me. So one thing I'd recommend in anything, by the way, if you look at Shark Tank, any of you guys watch Shark Tank? If you ever watch Shark Tank, the products that will do the best are the products that add the most value. Now, value, here's the thing, value is ambiguous, or I forget that word. It's kind of abstract. It depends on the meaning, it depends on the person. Value could be like entertainment, right? If you have a comedian that's funny and you're laughing, that's adding value. That's increasing your elevated state of emotion. If you have the Scrub Daddy, right? Huge product. It's like this thing that, or whatever, that works on Shark Tank where it gets hard and when it's dry, and then when it's warm, it gets soft, and they use it and it doesn't scratch stuff or whatever. That adds value, and that's why it's done like 100 million in sales. It's just this simple little thing. It's simple and it adds value. And to some people though, some of it depends on the person's meaning, because you look at like bagel bites, for example, which probably isn't the most healthy thing, but it's like a quick thing and a quick way for people to eat on their way to work, or like, these little bagel bites things. But to some people, they look at that doesn't add value because that is like not healthy, right? Value depends upon the person. It depends upon the consumers and the audience and stuff like that. Now, the reason I share that is because you can find your own ways of adding value. And when you focus on the value instead of what you're going to get, you will notice that money comes to you more than you can even imagine. So That's what you want to understand about money too, is like if you focus more on the giving, you will naturally get more. And that's the block for people. I see so often is that they're only focused on the giving or the getting, and it's get. It's like, well, what are you giving in exchange? If you read the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks in that when you're saying your definite purpose of like what you want to create in your life, you must say what you're willing to give in exchange. So I used to say when I was going to my 9-to-5 job, I'd say, I want to make this abundant so that I can travel and do this. And in exchange, I'm going to give the best service possible that leaves customers feeling great. And I'm going to elevate their emotions. And like that was my intention. And because it was partially adding value, people would feel that off of me. And even when I was making YouTube and still making YouTube videos, people can feel that I have a genuine intention, an authentic intention to add value. And I think that because people feel that, it then also is like a contagious energy. It's authentic, it's real, and people stay connected to it because of that reason. So that's the second truth about money that will change everything, is if instead of focus on the getting, you focus on the giving, what you put out is what you get back. It's the way this reality works. You will then start to realize that you become more abundant than ever before. Now, the third thing I want to talk about, and this is a truth about abundance that is very simple, but will completely transform this will transform your life if you absorb this idea. And it did for me. And it will also make you so much more aware of your limiting beliefs about money and your beliefs about abundance. That is scarcity versus abundance. Pretty sure I learned this from Bashar, but scarcity versus abundance. There is never a scarcity of anything in our reality. There is only abundance. There is only more. We live in an abundant universe, an abundant reality. If we believe in competition and we are competing, we are playing that game. Some of the most abundant people I know, by the way, I know some abundant people that are competitive because maybe they kind of get off on that and they like the dopamine spike from it. I know some other people that are just so giving. My friend Lewis Howes, that I met him in Sedona not that long ago. So giving me business advice and all this other stuff. And he gave me some of his contacts. That's like helping me with my YouTube channel and stuff like that. Like he's so abundant, and he's not like, I've met some people before, they're like afraid to give certain information because if they gave certain information, then it would take away from like maybe what they're doing. He has none of that. He's in ultimate abundance. And that's one thing that you'll notice is that those people that are in abundance they constantly also have like more good things coming to them. Now, when it comes to abundance as well, there's only more. There is only more. Now, if you are experiencing scarcity, and this was the key for me. If you are experiencing lack or scarcity in your life, you are experiencing an abundance of lack. You are experiencing an abundance of lack and scarcity because of your focus and your beliefs, whatever you believe to be true. So when you start to see it from this point of view, now realize there is no scarcity, there's only abundance. If you're experiencing lack, you're not experiencing scarcity, you're experiencing an abundance of lack because of your beliefs and what you're focusing on. If that just landed for you and that just shifted something for you, like this video or comment below and let me know. That was an epiphany game changer for me. So then I started to ask myself, well, what am I focusing on? Because when I went to my 9-to-5 job and I would focus on like customers not buying and I would focus on like certain things not working, I'd get an abundance of that. If my coworkers would be talking about how slow it was and how there's not that many customers, that would be true. But then if I went in and I would instead shift my focus and I would reframe meaning, and I would honestly also trust the universe, that's when things changed. I remember one time I worked with this guy who was like a top salesperson, but he made all of his money through Instagram because he had a big Instagram account. Kim Kardashian liked one of his photos once on Instagram, and he grew by like 50,000 followers. And he has like he had a lot of customers in this Instagram page, and it's still what he does. He loves what he does, which is something I want to share with you guys. Like 9-to-5 job, I do not like having a 9-to-5 job. I love working for myself. I always talk about working in women's shoes. Some people's purpose, and they may love working in women's shoes. This guy, he still works in women's shoes and in clothing. He loves it. He just posts his stuff on Instagram. But a customer came up one time working at Barney's and asked for a shoe. And she kind of had an attitude, and she was like New Yorker personality with a mom, and she was like in a certain energy. And he passed on the customer to me, which was kind of a move on him because he just didn't want to help the customer. So he passes it on to me. And at first I was kind of like, normally you just pick up the customers you give, and you help them. So it was kind of like his way of not wanting to help somebody that was kind of being, I guess, rude. But I remember helping this customer, and here was the thing too. It was a customer and her mom, and her mom was like 80, 90 years old. And at Barney's, New York, there weren't many comfortable shoes. They were like $800 luxury Louboutins and stuff. And anytime somebody asked for like a narrow, they're like, do you guys got any 7.5 narrows? If you're asking for a 7.5 narrow, there are no narrows at Barney's, New York. Barney's, New York doesn't even exist anymore because it went out of business. But also, it means like it's normally a harder sale because they're looking for something comfortable. And there's not many comfortable shoes where I used to work at Barney's, New York. Now, here is the thing. I go into the back and I'm kind of like, the stuff's coming. I was kind of getting angry about it because I'm like, now I might have to like help this customer for an hour and nothing's going to work. Right? I changed the meaning. I said, you know what? I'm going to have the best attitude about this possible. I'm going to shift it. I'm just going to have fun with it. And I was helping this woman, and it was like 40, 50-year-old woman and her like 80, 90-year-old mom. And I started helping them, and I started having fun. And I didn't care whether they bought or not. I didn't care what happened. Guess what ended up happening? Within 20, 30 minutes, they bought like $5,000 to $7,000. I think it was over $5,000 worth of shoes. They bought like 12 pairs of shoes. I then am ringing them up in the back, and he's like, they're buying all of those because it's a commission-based job. So I made in that moment like $300 or $400 in like half an hour on that one customer that he could have had if he would have had that mentality. But also I made the best of it. It's the reason I'm sharing this is focus on the abundance, and focus on like trusting as well, like trusting the universe and knowing that whatever's being sent to you, you can like handle and deal with. And you'll notice that abundance completely transforms around you. That was something that was a big epiphany for me because I was like, wait, I don't have to just assume or have these, what if a lot of these things I'm agreeing to is what's blocking me or causing people even not to buy, working that 9-to-5 job. So scarcity, there's an abundance of everything. If you're getting lack in your life, are you focused on lack? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about abundance? What do you believe? Do you believe you can, work do what you're passionate about for a living? Because if you don't believe it, then you won't achieve it, but you won't actually take the action for it. And that was a huge epiphany for me as well. And that's one of the truths about money that changed everything for me as I looked around and I could see where I was playing small. And that's also something I want to talk about is what is your base point? What is your base point? That's something else we're going to do in the 21-day abundance challenge. But if you see yourself, we all have a subconscious self-image. If we see ourselves as only able to make $100,000 a year, then we will only take action, think thoughts, and feel emotions equal to $100,000 a year. If we see it as $20,000 a year, then we will only experience that reality. We'll take action, feel emotions, and have beliefs that keep us in the reality of making $20,000 a year. And what you want to do is look at what is that base point, because for a long time, my base point was making $60,000 a year selling shoes. I always made about $55,000 to $65,000 a year selling shoes. And it wasn't until I went full-time on YouTube and I met somebody as well. I met a friend of mine that I connected to. And he was this guy that I knew, that I connected to. He was on YouTube. He had way less subscribers than I did, but I found out he was making $25,000 a month. And I'm thinking to myself, if he's doing that and he has, this much and he's in the same niche as me, what the hell am I doing? There's something I don't know. So then I started expanding my scope of what I knew, and I started focusing on other things. And that's why awareness is so powerful. Once I became aware of some of this stuff and I learned internet marketing, I learned how to create digital courses, do these online events. That's when everything began to change. I started developing a relationship with people on my email list, and I started growing an email list. Everything changed. A whole new world opened up. But that came from awareness. Now, the fourth secret and the fourth truth about money that will change everything for you when it comes to abundance is understanding the being in your passion and being the most authentic you. being the most authentic you. Now, I was learning how to make money online and learning internet marketing when I was, I remember at the time I had an ex-girlfriend, and I remember I was telling her about these things I was learning, and I think I kind of felt judged or something like that, but I was like kind of insecure, and I was learning how to do something called Kindle publishing, and I wasn't passionate about it. And I remember I did it for like I bought the course, I did it for 2 or 3 weeks, but I just gave up. And one of the reasons I gave up is because, one, I wasn't passionate about it, and two, it's like a little bit of resistance came up and I just gave up, you know? It's almost like I think maybe the universe wasn't wanting me to go down that path because it wanted me to do what I was meant to be doing. I think this is also, by the way, a lot of people that want to manifest money, they're like, I want to win the lottery. I want to do this. The challenge with that is that you're wanting something from nothing. The way our reality works is every single one of us are connected. Now, when we add value into the world, it's like the universe is like, holy shit, this person's adding value to other people. Let's send him or her more money. Because if you send them more money, they have more resources to then add even more value. So it's like we're all connected. So the more value we put out, the more abundance we get back. But one of the biggest blocks people have is when it comes to money, when it comes to abundance, is like they're not focused on getting in that energy, that vibration of alignment. So everything changes when you commit to the alignment and you realize that there's like a path that you're meant to be on. Now, the lottery winning thing is like it's this fickle thing that's like, I think that even if I were to focus on winning the lottery and I'd be focused on it and thinking about it, it would be a distraction from my purpose. If I were to have won $100 million 4 years ago, I would not be making YouTube videos most likely. And I would not be adding value into the world. So why would the universe want me to win the lottery, knowing that if I won the lottery, I may, maybe not everybody, but like 80, 90% of people that win the lottery, they lose all the money because they've won something for nothing. And because of that, they don't have the mentality, they don't have the self-image, they don't have the mindset of what it means to have $100 million. So they spend it all, they don't pay their taxes, they get screwed over, they get addicted to drugs. It just seems like a big trap, the lottery trap. So I'd be that's something I don't really teach and I don't really care about, is teaching just like manifesting random money coming in. There's nothing wrong with it, but maybe I'm just a little bit more old school. But I think that when we're really in alignment with what we love to do, it doesn't feel like work anyways. We're passionate. And when we're passionate, it's like the money follows us. The money just wants to get to us. When I'm passionate about videos, it's like the abundance just comes so much easier. So are you in your passion frequency? And that's something we're going to be doing in the 21-day challenge, is breath work, to finding clarity to what that is, to finding how to become more clear as to that. So realize that if you're trying to make money in certain ways and maybe it's not jiving, can you start tapping into your true essence of like who you came here to be? Start looking at what you're passionate about. Start asking different questions. And really make the choice to go into it, because blocks will come up, by the way. I've had blocks where it says I'm not credible, I'm not worthy. Will people even care what I have to think? I care what my family and my friends think because I'm putting out these esoteric videos now. You have to realize that if you're not being the real you, you're cheating people out anyways. You're cheating people out from knowing who the real you is. So as you become aware of that, you start living in alignment, you will start to feel so much more empowered, and it will change everything about you. Now, this last one, I think, is one of the most important truths about money that I think will also open up your eyes to this whole new world. But I want you to realize this. How many of you have read the book, The 4 Agreements? If you've read that book, like this video and comment below. Let me know. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Everything in our reality, there's an agreement of meaning. There's things that we agree to. And if we want to change our lives, we must change our agreements. Now, as much as I used to bitch about working a 9-to-5 job selling women's shoes that I wasn't passionate about, I was getting something from that 9-to-5 job. I was getting a paycheck. I was getting a payoff. And anytime we get payoffs, we continue to do it. But I want you to realize this. If you have a job you hate, you are agreeing to go to that job. You are choosing it. Now, if we tell ourselves a story that's like, I have to go to this 9-to-5 job. You don't have to go to that 9-to-5 job. You are choosing to go to that 9-to-5 job. Our agreements are things we choose at a certain point, and then it becomes an autopilot story and we stay trapped in it. If we are getting paid only $30,000, $40,000 a year, and maybe there's other coworkers that get paid more than us, it's because we've agreed that that's what we're worth, and that's also the value that we're putting into it. That's maybe there is truth to that, because maybe we're just maybe the people, like especially that commissions job that I had, the people that made more sold more, so they got paid more. So it's becoming very honest with yourself. Is this something I'm passionate about? And then also looking and realizing you are agreeing to go to the 9-to-5 job that you might hate. You are agreeing to that. If it's hard for you to find a job, then you may be agreeing to a belief that says, I'm not worthy, or I have to get a certain type of job that it's not passionate about. And I would really encourage you to look at your agreements and realize that you're still choosing it, because once you realize you're choosing it, you can then choose something else. But when you think that reality is static, that reality is fixed, that's what will keep you stuck in a non-abundant mindset. And you want to become aware of that, and you want to make a commitment to yourself. To also, this is something I see that blocks so many people, especially spiritual people, from being abundant. Don't be afraid to take action. I needed to hear this. I was watching, I think, a Ralph Smart video back in 2017. Massive action. He kept talking about massive action. And I was like, it sounds low vibrational. What about Abraham Hicks? Just think better thoughts. I don't like this. But guess what? When I started taking massive action, my whole entire life transformed. When I was taking action that was also in alignment with what I know I came here to do, what I'm meant to be doing. Massive action is a way, and we came here to have a 3D physical experience. Yes, we're moving into a 5D level of consciousness. We're abundance and less scarcity, like all that stuff. But at the same time, this is a physical experience. I can clap my hands because it's as physical. We came here to enjoy physical life, to enjoy touch, to enjoy food, to enjoy the luxury plush pillows. We came here to enjoy this stuff. Not to get lost in it, but to enjoy it. And part of that means there's a physical action component that I think will completely transform a lot of your lives. If you commit to doing something every single day that's committed to your passion, and you do that consistently and you get better every single day at it, you will notice that your life transforms. And if there's one other piece of advice I give you, is to stop waiting. The more you wait, I was waiting for years to get on YouTube. I was waiting for the right camera equipment, learn how to edit, the right mentors, Tony Robbins to put me on. I was waiting for so many things. And then I said, screw it. I just started doing it, and I learned as I went. I got better as I went. And that's what changed my whole entire life in a very powerful way, and that's exactly what you can learn too. Now, there's certain perspectives that I have that I believe have helped make me what I consider to be a spiritual millionaire for sure. Definitely have made, not trying to brag. I feel like guilty saying that sometimes. Maybe that's something I need to look at, my own guilt around this. But I've become multi-millionaire doing what I love. And there are certain perspectives and beliefs that have shifted everything for me. And there are several habits that completely changed everything about this. And there are 7 secrets, I would say, to becoming a spiritual millionaire that if you begin to apply would completely unravel a new level of your life. That video is going to be right here. Check out this video, watch it, watch how it changes your life. What you put out is what you get back, but when you go above and beyond, you open up new opportunities for yourself. I used to do this small little thing, and I'm going to share with you in this video the 7